Summary of Lab Girl by Hope Jahren. Hope Jaren's memoir, Lab Girl, tells how she went from being a curious kid in her father's lab to a successful science researcher, wife, and mother. Jaren grew up in a small town in the southern part of Minnesota. In the evenings, she would play in her father's science lab at the local community college. Even though Jaren was so young, she thought of the lab as a safe place and felt more at ease there than in her own home. She says that her family is cold and unfeeling. For example, Jaren and her father would walk home from work every night in silence, and Jaren's mother always seemed angry and annoyed. This anger may have come from the fact that the older Mrs. Jaren had to leave college because she couldn't pay for it. She then moved back to her city, got married, and had 4 kids. Jaren says that she felt like she had to finish what her mother had started, so she went to the University of Minnesota and majored in science. She worked hard in college. During the day, she went to classes and studied, and at night, she worked at the university hospital. She was busy all the time because she wanted to do well and because she had trouble sleeping. After a few months at the hospital, where she had to fill 4 bags with different medicines, Jaren started working in one of the science labs on campus, which brought her back to her favorite place. Jaren decided to go to graduate school because her professors told her to. As soon as she graduated from the University of Minnesota, she gave away her winter clothes and took a plane to California to start a doctoral program in soil science at the University of California, Berkeley. Jaren met Bill, who would become her best friend and partner in research, on a trip to the Central Valley of California to study dirt. Jaren was the trip's graduate assistant, so it was her job to oversee the work of the undergrads and answer any questions they had. When she saw that one of the students always worked alone, making his own hole apart from the others, she went to check on him. Almost immediately, she saw that he had the same wit and intelligence as she did. She helped him get a job as an assistant in the lab, and from that point on, they worked together for the rest of their lives. More importantly, they became close friends with each other in a way that was much deeper than what they had with their own families. Later, when Jaren introduced Bill to Clint, the man she had fallen in love with and married, Bill didn't want to accept this change in his social life at first. However, the 3 of them quickly became good friends who helped each other out. Bill got his bachelor's degree in 1997, the same year that Jaren got her PhD. She applied early for teaching jobs and was hired right after she graduated to teach at Georgia Tech. It didn't take much to get Bill to join her as her lab helper. In Atlanta, Jaren was thrilled to finally be able to run her own research lab, but she was also stressed and overworked because she had to study, teach, and look for funds all the time. She says that scientists get money for 3 years at a time, and there isn't nearly enough grant money to pay for every study. Because of this, the competition is tough and the pressure to do well is high. Jaren says she didn't eat much, rarely showered, and spent most of her time working. For a while, Bill lived in the lab, wearing pajamas, a t-shirt and khakis as pajamas, so that if a secretary or custodian saw him, he could say he was working late and had just fallen asleep. In the meantime, what had seemed like a mix of nervous energy, stress, and anxiety turned out to be bipolar disorder. Jaren went through intense highs of mania and crushing lows of sadness after them. Jaren was lucky in that she was able to find a doctor who put her on medicine that helped her get her mind back in order. Jaren and Bill worked hard on their study and got bigger and better grants, but they also had a lot of fun while they were doing it. Jaren tells the story of their field trip for a soil science class, which included a delicious dinner of Hungarian dumplings at 3 a.m. and a visit to Monkey Jungle, where the group could see themselves in the monkeys in their cages. She and Bill also had a routine of going to a certain tree stump, where Bill always put his hair after cutting it. This led them to write The Getting Tree, a strange but interesting book for kids about a tree that eats a young boy. Bill and Jaren were each other's best friends, so they always accepted each other for all of their flaws and differences. Bill moved to Johns Hopkins with Jaren, where they set up another lab and where Jaren would finally meet Clint and get married to him. She had to stop taking her medicine while she was pregnant with her son. Soon after, she was hospitalized because she was so depressed. Also, while she was on maternity leave, her department chair told her she couldn't go to her own lab, which was her safest and most comfortable place. He thought she was a risk. Once her son is born, Jaren's life starts to get back on track. She is able to deal with her bipolar disease by going back on her medicine, and she starts to enjoy being a mother. After Jaren's experience at Johns Hopkins, where she was kicked out of the lab while on maternity leave, Clint, Bill, and Jaren all moved to Hawaii to work at a university with a better view of women in science. Jaren gets a Fulbright grant when that her kid is young, and the family moves to Norway for a year. This gives her time to think about the strange things about her childhood, about Scandinavian society, and even about her role as a working mother. Jaren knows that words of condolence aren't enough when Bill's father dies, so she gets him a ticket to Ireland. He's been back in Hawaii running the lab while she's in Norway, so they can only mourn and grow together by digging in the dirt.
About the author. Hope Jahren was born in the small town of Austin in southwestern Minnesota to a professor father and a housewife mother. She spent a lot of her free time as a child in her father's lab at the local community college and with her mother in the yard. She got her bachelor's degree in 1991 from the University of Minnesota. In 1996, she got her PhD in soil science from the University of California, Berkeley. She has worked at the Georgia Institute of Technology, Johns Hopkins University, and the University of Hawaii. She now lives with her husband and son in Oslo, Norway, and works as a professor at the University of Oslo. Lab Girl, her book about her life, came out in 2016.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.